Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to today's webinar for the 2020 NIC Spring Conference. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our very first video webinar. We'd also like to thank Meridian Capital Group for sponsoring this webinar, and we hope that it's going to help all of you discover ways to make the most out of your very first NIC conference. So before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. So you've joined the presentation in listening mode using your computer's speaker system by default. So if you'd like to change that over to telephone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be available to you. So you have the opportunity today to submit text questions to our presenters by typing in your questions into the questions pane of your control panel. So you can send your questions at any time during the conversation. We're going to gather them all. We'll collect them and address them at the end of the session during the Q&A session, all the way at the end of today's program. So keep them coming. Feel free to fire them off whenever you think of them. And we may also ask you a few polling questions, so be ready to participate in those throughout the webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded, so you're going to receive a follow-up email with a link to view the recording after it's over. So in the way of introductions, just so everyone knows, my name is Kimberly Bottom, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar, as well as the host of NIC TV during the conference. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, NIC TV provides video highlights from each day of the conference. So if you see me walking around, I hope that you come over and say hi and maybe give us a soundbite in front of the camera and allow me to interview about your first NIC experience. So now I would like to introduce our very esteemed speakers and NIC conference veterans. So Bre Grubbs over here to my right is the Senior Vice President of New Business at Leisure Care. Bre's first NIC event was back in 2010, and that experience sparked a drive to support NIC and its events ever since. Bre was on the Future Leaders Council from 2011 to 2014 and was also on the Regional Planning Committee during that time. So from 2014 to 2018, Bre volunteered her time to support the National Planning Committee. And most recently, she's been an integral part of the now standalone NIC Seniors Housing Boot Camp, which was sold out in past years. So Ben Firestone over here on my left. He is the Executive Managing Director and co-founder of Blueprint Healthcare Real Estate Advisors, which is an official NIC partner. Ben is also a huge contributor to the NIC's Senior Housing Bootcamp as well. Another very successful NIC event that Ben was heavily involved in was the Capital Connections Program. And that's a networking event at NIC Capital and Business Strategies Forum. And that allowed operators to hear directly from capital providers about the types of capital available to them. Ben was also on the Spring Planning Committee from 2016 to 2018. He served on the Future Leaders Committee from 2015 to 2017. And he has not missed a NIC conference in the spring or in the fall since 2005. So lots to live up to. Thank you for being here today, Ben. Ben and Bre, thank you so much, both of you, for lending your knowledge and experiences to help our new attendees feel prepared and excited for this unique must-attend experience. So here we go. Let's get started, shall we? I'd like to quickly recap the topics that we'll be discussing so we know what to expect. First, I'll give you a brief summary of the makeup of the conference. Ben and Bre will lend their expertise in devising a game plan before the conference, navigating the conference while you're on site, and also having a post-game plan to keep the momentum after the conference is over. After that, we'll get to some FAQs that you might have about the event, and then I want to hear from you guys. So we'll answer any questions submitted by participants at the end, but remember, you can submit them at any time during this webinar. So, first and foremost, let's get to know this event a little bit. It's got 1,600 plus potential partners for you, attendees who will be there. And there's also more than 700 companies represented, so a wide array of different companies, which means a 100 chance of success for you to be there. And this year, we've got some focus areas that we want you to know about. First and foremost, real estate strategies. So that's market trends, capital flow into the sector, investing in seniors housing, skilled nursing, home health care, and home care, valuations, and workforce issues. Next up is healthcare strategies in real estate, and that's financial alignment, partnership financing structures, key drivers for valuation, changes to valuation, and cap rates. And then finally, there's also senior care collaboration, which is how to achieve care coordination, win managed care business, form partnerships, create high performance networks, and approach the challenges and opportunities of taking risks in that area. So that's something that you can expect to see a lot of at this year's conference. So moving on, for all of you who enjoyed the Super Bowl last weekend, let's go ahead and stick with that theme. And we're going to give you a game plan for going into NIC. So to help set up your conference experience, I'm kicking it over to Bre, who's an expert in this area. Bre, tell us all about coming up with a game plan to set up for success.
Absolutely. Thank you. So my boss says this to our group a lot, which is proper preparation prevents poor performance. And that could not be more true of preparing for the NIC. It is 3.5 days that are more jam-packed than you can probably imagine. And my first NIC, I didn't have a game plan because I had no idea what I was walking into, and I did not get the most out of the conference. And so since that time, I have spent a lot of time with the things that we're going to talk about right now, which are downloading the app, scheduling and planning ahead, not forgetting about sessions, and engaging with social media. So before the conference, and I did this, I was on an airplane to Dallas yesterday, and so I did this on my plane flight. I downloaded the app ahead of time, and I went through all of the icons. It is a fantastic reference for before the conference, and an even better one during the conference, because it is how I keep track of where I'm supposed to be and when, where if a time slot opens up, I can go to see what the options are, and it gives you a ton of information about where to find things during the conference. It also is the only place where you can get the attendee list. And that is especially important if you are seeking financing, because they have a specific capital provider attendee list, but also just to figure out who you want to schedule meetings with. You're going to schedule a lot of meetings, and we'll talk about some strategies for how to schedule successful meetings and how to get people to schedule a meeting with you. But please don't forget about the awesome content that the sessions provide, especially if you're relatively new to the industry. You can use the schedule at a glance. The preliminary program is located on the app and is on the website. But there are a ton of educational sessions that you can be a part of. They're usually 75 to 90 minutes, and you can make sure to engage in things that are of interest to you. Not only is it a great way to get information from experts, but it is a great way to meet other people at the conference who have the same interests as you. NIC is also rolling out a new feature this year called the Brain Date. It's trademarked, so you know it's going to be good. These are one-on-one and group conversations based on knowledge you want to exchange with other participants. And they have a great lineup of people who are hosting brain dates on specific topics. So they are things like, I'm a long-term care-centric ACO, ask me anything. Now, that may not be something that I'm interested in, but Ben might be. And so these are things that really narrow in the focus of what your interest level is, sets you up with an expert, and also allows you to share information and ask questions. Again, in the app, because the app is your place for everything, you will see an icon called Brain Date, and it will give you the option to create a profile, choose a topic that you're interested in having a brain date about, and schedule that brain date for a time during the conference. Now, after you have got your meeting scheduled, after you have figured out what sessions you're going to, and you have your brain dates scheduled, you will want to spread the word. There may be people, you'll have the attendee list, but that you want to reach out to via social media, or just share that you're going so that other people who may be interested in what you're bringing to the conference can reach out to you. And there are a ton of different ways to do that. If you follow me on Twitter, which you can, just Bre Grubbs, I will be posting a tweet about this webinar just after we're done today. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram are also ways to share what you're doing. During the conference, you will see great tweets about the content, about tidbits and snapshots from individual sessions. And then LinkedIn is a great way to connect before, during, and after the conference. However, I shouldn't steal Ben's thunder because now I'm talking about what to do on site.
Great. Thank you so much, Bre, for all the preparation that's going to ensure a smooth on-site experience. So it's very important to set it all up. And before actually we get to Ben, I'm going to ask to hear from all of you. So we're going to launch our first poll question. So let me go ahead and get that going. You should see a poll pop up now on your screen, and please feel free to participate. And I want to know, have you downloaded the mobile app? Obviously, we're looking for people to say, yes, of course, and I love it. But if you haven't, we want to know because we want to make sure that everybody is aware of this extremely important resource for the conference. So far, I'm liking the numbers I'm seeing. We've got 77% said yes, 23% said no, but I'm going to take that as a no, but I'm going to do it right after this webinar. So looks like we're just about settled. 89% of you have voted, so that's most people, and we're looking at about 78% who have said yes. So that's a great number to start off with. So everybody who hasn't, please go ahead and go into the App Store. It is free, and use this resource to help set up a successful on-site experience. All right, I'm going to close this poll now. Thank you everyone who participated and voted. All right, Ben, I am coming to you. So we want to hear about, once you're on site, there is a lot going on. It's easy to get overwhelmed. How can you make the most out of your on-site experience?
Well, thank you, Kimberly. I'm glad that I downloaded my app last night. One of the few, and certainly one of the many moving forward. But just like Bre effectively set the stage, it's time to perform when you get to sunny San Diego. So first, what everyone should do, and this year you're not going to just see first timers going to survey the hotel because it's a new hotel to NIC. You're going to want to get a lay of the land. So you're going to want to check in, and then you're going to want to understand where the meeting places are, where the two central networking lounges are. There's the Marriott Grand Networking Lounge, and then there's the Pacific Ballroom, and the receptions will be in those places as well. You're going to want to understand what the sessions are, and you want to understand where they are, where you're going to go to them, and also the different attendee resources we'll talk about in a minute. So really important to get a lay of the land before you dive into what is a very intense, power-packed 3.5 days. Like I said, the Marriott Grand Networking Lounge is on the lobby level, and the Pacific Ballroom Networking Lounge is on level 1. Those are the two central focal points of the conference. There's sessions and receptions. So there's networking. There's also sessions that we talked about. You're going to want to take a balanced approach. And you're also going to understand how long it takes to get from point A to point B, because the Marriott Hotel is very vast, and it does take some time. So you can't schedule everything back to back to back without a little bit of time budgeted in for a commute. And then there's other attendee resources we'll talk about later. I want to make sure we're paying attention to the meeting points, because you're going to want to meet up with people, whether it's a brain date or otherwise. The map you can access on the app, but we're going to want to understand who you're meeting and where you're meeting. So if you're scheduled a meeting and you're looking for a different constituent within the industry, you're looking for an operator, you're going to see a red lanyard on their badge. Developer orange, and you can see the rest of the colors. The healthcare provider in yellow, and then the financing side of the business in green, and the transactional services like myself will be wearing blue lanyards. You want to make sure you set a meeting point. There's going to be 12 of them that are numbered at various locations throughout the networking area. And then what typically people do is they say, let's meet at networking point number 6, but then they find a place to go sit down and really get to know one another and exchange the meaningful dialogue that they can network and understand what each other are trying to accomplish at the conference. A couple other key events that you're going to want to take note of and attend if you can find the time. First, the first time attendee power hour. That's going to be in the afternoon on Wednesday in San Diego Ballroom A. You're going to hear from President and CEO Brian Jarutka. He's going to kick us off and give you some orientation. And then it really is an opportunity to meet other first-time attenders. Most of the time at the power hour, you're going to be able to sit down and meet other new entrants and new attendees to the conference and share your insight and what you're trying to gain out of being there in San Diego. And then there's also 2 morning meetups, one each day, Thursday and Friday. And that's another opportunity to meet newbies and meet up with first-time attendees and also NIC staff and conference veterans who want to go out there and kick off their day. And then the other 2 things that I always think are the most impactful ways to meet a lot of people in a very short amount of time. The networking receptions. There's a welcome reception on Wednesday night where everyone at the conference will be out ready to glad hand, exchange business cards, and have a little fun. And then there's another networking reception, which is an additional opportunity for capital seekers and operators and everyone else to meet each other on Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening before everyone sets off for their social agenda in the evening. Couple other things, the resources we talked about. Make sure that you plan on attending sessions and also balance that with the networking objectives you have to meet people. There are 2 general sessions. There are keynote speakers you're going to hear from, and Bob Kramer, who is the founder of NIC, is going to be the moderator for the opening session. There's 14 sessions located in the various ballrooms that you can go get specific content from subject matter experts in creative formats like fireside chats. I'll be on one of those on valuation. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some fun in interactive ways with other experts in the industry. And then, like Bre said, the brain date that's new this year. Encourage you to try it out and see what you can do to take advantage of that opportunity, as well as just go out and network and understand where you can go meet people at designated sites and have productive conversations. And then just be sure to pace yourself. It's a lot. There's a lot to take advantage of in a very short amount of time. It will fly by. Trust me. It is exhausting, but it's also very effective. And as you all know, the industry is a national industry. You can get together with people. I like to even equate it to summer camp. You get to see all your friends and business relationships from all different corners of the United States in one place a couple of times a year. So a lot of fun, a lot of action, and a lot of energy. Just make sure you have some places to get some rest, some places to recharge. There's tech support, the LinkedIn corner. You can even get a headshot taken there. New this year, there's the Market Fresh fruit cart. I'm excited to go have some fruit, some healthy food to continue my pursuit of meeting people. A little energy, pick me up there. There's a coffee bar and other wellness services, as well as a concierge if you need a little guidance on where to go. And I think that does it for on-site.
It does. Thank you very much, Ben, for sharing all those tips. Summer camp. I love it. I feel like we need to have like a NIC tug of war contest now, but just getting everybody together and having a good time, getting business done, but really, like you said, connecting with your peers. So thank you so much for sharing all those really great tips. Before we move on to your post-conference strategy, I want to take one more poll for you guys. So let me go ahead and get that up and running here. That poll should be launching at any moment now. And I want to know, after hearing about what Ben spoke about, do you plan on attending the Power Hour for new attendees? So obviously, we hope that you do. And I can tell you a nice story last time at the NIC Fall Conference. NIC TV was there covering that, and I met an attendee who said he met someone who lived a few miles away from where he was, and they'd never met until Power Hour in a whole nother city. And now he has an industry connection and actually a new friend that he didn't even know was right down the street from him. So you really never know who you're gonna run into and what you're gonna accomplish there. So it's definitely a worthwhile event. And so far, all right, I've got 97% who said they are going to attend the Power Hour. You 3% out there, I see you. I'm gonna find you at the conference and I'm gonna convince you that this is a worthwhile cause. Maybe it's just because you've got something else scheduled, but if you can make it, definitely attend the Power Hour. It's a great event to have. So thank you all for voting. That's 97% say they'll be there, so come meet your friends. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. We're all done there. And now to get ready for the post-conference strategy, I'm going to give it back to you, Ben. There are a couple tips you have for making sure that you keep that momentum going after you make it.
Thanks, Kimberly. I wish I had an acronym as clever as Bre's for making sure to take advantage of all that action and capture it, harness it, and come up with a strategy to follow up. So a couple important notes. One, complete the surveys. We appreciate you doing that. Two, if you happen to be double booked or missed a session that you were particularly attracted to or interested in, all of the content can be downloaded after the fact on the app. There's also these storyboards, these graphic storyboards, which summarize some of the key themes. I think they're very effective way to understand what went down at the conference. But again, you can download the audio of any of these sessions and make sure you keep up on anything you missed. And then I always like to encourage everyone on my team to collect business cards, collect contact info, make sure you understand something specific about everyone you meet so that you can have an effective strategy to follow up and send either notes or calls or somehow meet up and capitalize on the opportunity. Because again, Nick, it works very fast, and before you know it, all of the information, the people you meet, the relationships that are budding, if you don't have an effective strategy to follow up, you may miss an opportunity. So I'd encourage you to take some time, recap with yourself or your team after the conference and understand what went down and how do you move forward and like I said, capitalize on the opportunity that Nick gives you, getting everyone in the industry in one spot a couple of times a year.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ben, for those great tips. We are almost at the end of our webinar here. I want to hear from you guys in terms of what questions you have now that you've heard all of these great tips. I have a couple that have already come in, but to give everybody just another minute or so to get their questions, and if you have them, go ahead and write them down. I'm going to answer a couple of the frequently asked questions that we see a lot of people wondering the answer to. So first and foremost, the dress code. Business attire, and even though it is San Diego, it will get chilly inside the actual hotel. So consider wearing long sleeves or bring a sweater or a jacket that you can take on or off. There's a lot of walking, so comfortable shoes. If you've got heels, great, but throw those flats in your purse if you really want to last the day. So, and there is also going to be some complimentary evening car services in terms of transportation that's provided from the Sheraton to transport you to your night out in downtown Chicago and, in San Diego. And be sure to check in with concierge for that. So, in terms of meetup points being used, you definitely want to use those to find people. But like Ben said, once you find them at your meetup point, sit down, get comfortable, have a good conversation. And if you have any more questions outside of that, you can go to www.nicevent.org. Obviously, all that stuff is in the app as well, but if you're working off of a laptop and you want to go to a website, it's www.nicevent.org. And you can also email Nick from that website if you have any questions that they can answer. So real quick, before we get on to the live questions that I might pitch over to you, Ben and Bre, I just want to summarize what we've talked about here. First and foremost, set up your game plan. You have to have a game plan. Just going there and hoping to wing it, you're not going to get as much as you possibly could get out of the conference. So get familiar with the conference space. Once you get there, walk around, find where things are. You're going to see those meetup point signs, and that's going to help you identify where to meet people. Make sure to utilize the resources. Nick works very hard to make sure that people have everything they need to make it successful. So utilize those things that they have prepared for you. You want to connect and collaborate. That's why we go to one-on-one events. That's why it's so important to still travel and see people face to face. So definitely make sure you make those connections. Don't forget, pace yourself. It's going to be a long couple days. It's going to be really great, but you're going to find yourself back in your hotel room at one point going, wow, how do I go on? So definitely make sure, bring your water, find a good spot to sit, grab a coffee. Don't try to do it all on day one. You're just going to get real tired from the get-go. And then make sure that you follow up. So when you meet somebody, don't let that momentum stop there. You want to make sure you follow up with the new contacts. And you also want to use those post-conference materials to maximize all of the things that you learned while you were at NIC and to keep that momentum going until the next event and to get that new business going. So let us move on now to our Q&A questions. So I've got, oh, look at that. We've got a couple more that came in. So first and foremost, this is from Carrie Burrell or Burrell, forgive me if I'm saying your last name wrong, but he said that he did not see an app for brain date in iOS on iPhones. Is there one? Forgive me, I think that it's inside of the NIC app. I might be wrong though. Bre, could you expand upon that?
Yep, I'm pulling up my app right now, and there is, let's see, I know I got asked yesterday, so it's this middle one. So here's the app, whoop, wrong way. And it is the middle button right in the middle of that. And if you click on the Brain Date app, it will ask you to agree to receive some communications, and then it will ask you to confirm that you've read the privacy policy. You can go through that, and then it'll get you in there. So it's only one app to download, which is awesome, and it's the center icon on that main page.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Bre, for clearing that up. I got a question from Vincent Saturino asking if we will be providing the slides to this webinar. Yes, we can absolutely send them your way, and a recording of this webinar will also be provided to you shortly after this ends. So you can look out for that as well, but you can absolutely access the slides as well. I'll make sure that I make a note for the NIC team to make them available to you guys. The next question is from Brandy. Let's see, she said she has downloaded the app during the webinar. Ooh, good for you. And she has not yet received the email to log into the app. Bre, do you happen to know, does it take a little while to get that email?
Make sure you check your spam folder. Mine came through immediately. I believe there is a prompt if it does not come through that you can reach out to, but I'm not seeing it in the app. But it should come through pretty quickly. So if not, then I would, I think there's a support email that you can send that to, or check your spam folder first, because sometimes NIC emails end up in my junk folder. I would try it one more time. Make sure, I have a couple of work email addresses, which is not necessarily normal, but if it gets to the wrong one or it's a different email than what you registered with, for example, if you have an assistant, then that code may go to that other person. So I would also check there if that might be the case, and then try again, and if not, reach out to the NIC team for some support.
Yes, the NIC team is standing by to help. One of them is listening in right now, so I know she's taking notes in terms of how to help you guys out. So definitely reach out through that support email, and they should get back to you pretty quickly. All right, the next question, I'm going to pitch this to either one of you, Ben or Bre, how you would like to respond. This is from Stefan Cosentino. I think I'm saying that right. And he is asking, so for academics, he's looking for maybe a good way to gather content that can be adapted for a classroom versus a business setting. So like Senior Living Development 101. Does anybody have any insight into something like that?
Sounds like it's a good brain date from my perspective.
It does.
And a lot of the content, although developed for operators or people financing buildings, and not specifically academics, I think could easily be adapted, or could be great content to help you spur questions or help you meet people who could develop that content.
Absolutely, and I can speak from experience. I know this is the first time with Brain Date at NIC. I've actually done Brain Date, TM, trademarked, at a different event, and it's really, really easy to use, guys. So definitely log in. Make those dates. It's just a really efficient way to have a targeted conversation like that, like adapting this for the classroom in a quick amount of time, meet somebody new, and then you schedule another one. So instead of kind of looking around for that right person, you can put that out in the universe and somebody says, hey, I know a little bit about that. Why don't we chat? So definitely it's a great way to look at it, Ben. So if you don't know, schedule a Brain Date.
And shameless promotion here for boot camp, but if you're just looking to learn in general, about the industry, I'd encourage you to look into boot camp. I think the next one is being held this summer in Colorado, and it's a great place to learn about the industry.
Absolutely.
Very, very true. All right. And the final comment that we had, again, from Vincent, thank you for the helpful tip, is that the email that you register with in the app, that's where that email is going to go. So obviously check that one first, check that spam folder, and if it's still not there, reach out and let the NIC team know that you're having some issues and they'll help you out. So those are all the questions that I have here today. And that brings us to the very end of our webinar. So thank you first and foremost, Ben and Bre, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to give us all this really great advice and make sure that these first-time attendees are going to have a successful on-site experience. Thank you guys very much.
Thank
Great.
you. See
Thank
you all in
you.
San Diego.
Absolutely.
And
So San Diego is not that far away, guys. It's only about a month, so we're going to see each other real soon. So make that game plan. Get ready for your on-site experience. Thank you so much for logging in today to make the most out of your conference. We cannot wait to see you in just about a month. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.